my spot, so deranged. Shoot my shot with perfect aim. Third degree, that perfect flame. Ain't no sleep, that's the game. Oh, so southern, that's the slang. When they see me, that's the main. Chasing checks and fly like planes. Big old stick, I bought a cane. Flick my wrist and bought the ring. I'm so boss, we're not the same. Paid the cost and kept the change. Now I'm walking Hall of Fame. And I reside in the cloud. Grand wishes with these bitches. Taking pictures with the crowd and I'm out.
Happy Friday. Peace, blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. I hope all is well with everybody. Peace and love. The weekend is upon us. Make the best of it. Shout out to my poor writers, content creators, all the in-betweens. See the title. I got Sydney in the studio. I have a clip. It's not precisely the one that I wanted to play, but it's still one of great interest. You might want to pay attention to this. You want to show up, do this out. Hold on, let me see. Yeah. Thank you for the heads up. Let's see here. I'm going to bring you up and I'm going to get my mic fixed real quick. Good evening.
Hello. Go downstairs.
How's everything? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you too. Everything's doing pretty good. My son finished his very first week of school this week, so I'm happy to see him transitioning decently. The first couple days were kind of difficult for him because it's a brand new thing and his first time really being away from us. But he seems like he's more excited now. So I'm really happy about that because I was nervous he's going to not transition as well into being in school. But yeah, so that's been an interesting addition to my week. But other than that, I'm doing pretty good. Not much else happened recently, just writing and working towards those next books.
Respect. Well, look, glad to have you here this evening. I found an alternate clip I'm going to play. It's similar. It's not identical, but it definitely opened up a couple of layers that I didn't think was there until now. So I'm going to bring this up on the big screen. I'm going to let it play. It's like 2 minutes or so. And yeah, we'll go from there.
Rage-bait content makes so much money. Remember how we say that on social media and especially other services that you don't pay for but get to use, it usually means that you are the product? BBC Australia just released a story that I do not feel is making the rounds as it should be, where they discovered that Meta, Facebook's parent company, has an invite-only program and is directly paying content creators to create rage-bait content that violates its own community guidelines. Why is this? Well, one, rage-bait content is incredibly profitable, and two, it keeps you focused on the culture wars instead of what people like Mark Zuckerberg are actually doing to you and to our world. People are talking a lot about discourse cycles, and I think you can really see this on TikTok, where a certain type of discourse will completely capture entire sections of this app for almost weeks at a time now, which is a pretty long time, given how quickly the 24-hour news cycle moves. And while you are fighting about like a Drew off wallow, and ER situation that was literally whipped up by a conservative podcast to make you be in the rage bait discourse. They are stealing everything from us. How long are we going to continue to let these people divide us so they can continue to extract? The thing about these billionaires, the ruling class, is that they know what they're doing is cartoonishly evil. And they have so much power they don't feel like they have to hide it anymore. And they know we hate it. And they fear what we would do if pushed to our limits. So it's incredibly easy for them to pivot to paying directly for content that gets out there that makes us fight with one another instead of against them. Rage bait content makes so
Don't you just love rage bait content? I spent all my life looking for the best rage baiters. All I've ever wanted to do was be harassed by internet trolls and people who just had nothing better to do to incite riots and wars amongst people for a paycheck. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, there's this weird thing. If I move my mic around, it disconnects from the setup and then it switches to an alternate audio feed. That's why, and I don't know sometimes that is happening, but I appreciate the heads up. You had a different clip than what I did though, but first of all, your overall thoughts on it. What prompted that particular one, and yeah, what's your take?
Well, let me preface with I absolutely hate Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. He's of all the billionaires, I probably hate him. He's up there. He's definitely like first or second with billionaires that I absolutely detest and wish that they had all their money taken away from them. But besides my personal hatred of him, I thought it was a really interesting story because it's a big deal. We have a company paying people to spread lies on the internet, very obviously targeting specific groups of people that are in power right now. And the other aspect too is if Meta is doing this, how many other multi-million billion dollar companies are also doing the same thing? Because we all know that right now this country is being, and even some other countries, like this can extend worldwide because these companies have reach across the world. There's extremely rich people in power right now, and they are controlling the markets. They're controlling the money cycle, or at least they have a huge pull on the money cycle. And then, of course, a lot of these companies, specifically around social media and technology, they can literally control our communication, our personal details. Like, they have access to our entire lives. And so if Mark Zuckerberg is doing this, I guarantee there's other people that are doing this that we just haven't found out about, especially because right now, at more than any point in time, billionaires are threatened, because people are starting to wake up and realize that billionaires are responsible for affecting the economy negatively, and that we're basically in our French Revolution era where people are recognizing that their lives are being stolen by highly wealthy people that don't care to participate in society and just hoard their wealth, hoard their resources, and mock us for being poor, for eating avocado toast, even though that has absolutely nothing to do with why people are struggling today. So, yeah, again, I'm not surprised at all that this is happening. I'm not surprised that it's Meta that is doing this. But to me, it would be a surprise if it was only them. So, yeah. Yeah.
Guaranteed there's multiple people, multiple sources, multiple applications. Believe it or not, there are maybe 3 or 4 different videos that I have done on different men specifically who have openly admitted that they get a nice sizable chunk of change to do this. Some people sit in their room, some people sit in the basement, and they have 10, 15, 20 laptops just at their beck and call, and they go to multiple aliases, and they're right there arguing with people that have no idea, that they don't know nothing about what you got going on. All they know is they've been sent to do a task. They have no real dog in the fight other than it's an easy paycheck. And like it doesn't really make a difference if it's a millionaire or a billionaire who is organizing this stuff, as long as you're taking a lot of the pressure off of what I got going on, I'm cool with it. There was one live stream me and Nat did on Wednesday. It was about the FBI breaking into a location, a whole building where they had over 1 million servers that they seized that were being used for this purpose right here. So I know for a fact that it's been going on for a very long time. I absolutely believe that it's more than one person that is behind it. No, I'm not a big fan of Zuckerberg. I'm not a big fan of Elon either. Uh, but dang. And then I just read somewhere that a lot of these people are getting 10,000 a month to do this. It's like, so y'all be arguing with people. You think you're actually arguing with someone, you're really not. Dangerous, dangerous game. The precedent that is set is absolutely horrifying and scary if you really think about how major this is, depending on who's using it and how well they can execute. Levy, what's going on, sir? Happy Friday to you. Just to give you a quick recap, we're talking about how Facebook and Meta is paying people to basically harass you, basically using people, paying people a nice sum of change to get into conversations online about race, politics, religion, and whatever else, to incite outrage within the spaces of the community they're within. I yield the mic.
I was looking at I just like Googled to see Mark Zuckerberg pays for various privileges. I was curious if there's been other cases of this, and while it's not the same thing per se, I still find it slightly relevant given the amount of money that he's willing to spend to overtake other people and other companies. Um, Mark Zuckerberg offers top AI talent pay packages up to $300 million over 4 years, with over $100 million in the first year, because he's trying to lure researchers from the AI competitors like OpenAI. That's wild. That is way too much money. I'm sorry. I don't care what you do. $100 million. I don't even think the president gets that much. That's crazy. But it really shows you that these people know that they can use money to get exactly what they want. And another example, obviously not related to Facebook and Zuckerberg Meta, but they've even found that a lot of the insurrectionists that went into the Capitol on January 6th, they were paid. A lot of them were paid. There were some that even admitted to being recruited. Um, the powerful know that honestly the left is onto them. They know that most of the country recognizes what they're doing, recognizes the the inequity between us and them. They know that we're about to come after them and that the hatred of them is going to increase over time. So they're trying to get ahead of this by controlling the narrative and trying to stifle the truth and put out all these conspiracy theories and stuff like that. I mean, we saw this in the 60s when people were saying stuff about the war and were saying stuff about communism and like all of these scapegoats, immigrants, black people, Mexican, like all of this propaganda stuff. They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. This is all to distract us because they know that if we are actually paying attention, we're going to see exactly who the perpetrators are. It's the wealthy. It's the wealthy and their connections and their ability to work with each other. I actually heard a theory recently that essentially the billionaires are propping up the economy right now because they're passing money back and forth between each other to support each other's companies. Because Facebook will donate to Apple and will donate to what's his face, Jeff Bezos, and Elon will give them money, and others will give him money. Like they're literally just passing money in between each other's businesses to prop up the economy, make it seem like AI is worth it and profitable, even though it's not, because they're not actually making money. They're just moving the money around. Again, this is just a theory that I had seen somebody else talking about, so I don't know if that's actually what's happening, but I mean, honestly, that sounds like a really valid explanation for what's happening, because I do see that a lot on the news where they're like AI is getting a donation from these companies or these people, and they're the same companies that are connected to the stuff happening with the presidency. They're the same people that's connected to what's happening with like land being taken, water being controlled, electricity being taken. These highly wealthy people are very obviously trying to take everything from us. And again, if you're going to take things from people, you have to make sure that they're not watching. You have to make sure that they're distracted. It's basically a large scale version of pickpocketing where you distract them, and when they're not looking or not paying attention, then you steal whatever it is out from under them. And this is exactly what they're doing or trying to do. They're trying to pay people to put out all this propaganda that makes us think that it's not what we think it is, and are really trying to point fingers at a group of people to, as I said, distract us. So I can definitely see why he'd be paying people, but obviously this should not be allowed. Companies should not be able to pay people to promote this type of content, especially because they found that Meta's directly paying several controversial content creators, including a white nationalist with neo Nazi links, as well as a prominent anti vaxxer. Um, so these companies are going specifically for the conspiracy theories because it gets a lot of attention because whether you believe it or not, a lot of people are going to step in and contribute. If you do know what like people argue just to argue, and if you put up a conspiracy theory, it's going to blow up because there's going to be people in the comments that are trying to like, no, I'm right, no, I'm right, no, I heard this theory. Like people are going to be going back and forth arguing with each other, criticizing each other for their beliefs, telling each other that they're stupid or they don't know what they're talking about. It just creates conversation, and that's how they make money. They make money by us clicking things, using links, all that other stuff. And so the more they get us to look at the screens and get mad at things over the internet, the less we're focused on getting mad in person at the people who are taking everything away from us. And as usual, Meta's not commenting directly on any of these issues, which I'm not surprised about because he very frequently refuses to answer questions, give vague answers. I saw the trial earlier in the year or last year when all of the different large social media companies, Facebook, Discord, Reddit, I think, Twitter, all the owners of those websites. I think TikTok owner was there too. But it was basically a hearing about public safety and information release and all that other stuff that's a problem right now. And of all the people, like Discord to me gave the most human response where you could tell for the most part that they cared about people. He seemed the most genuine. He seemed to actually care about his company and the safety of the people using his site or program. Mark Zuckerberg gave the most plain white bread answers you could possibly give and really offered no source of remorse and almost seemed to deflect it, saying like, oh no, we don't do that. I don't trust him. Like in many situations, he either deflects or says some stupid joke or something to de-escalate the situation, make it seem like it's not that bad. Yeah. I can see why he would use rage bait because it will get him a lot of attention, but I don't think that should be allowed because if you're controlling this much of the media, you shouldn't be allowed to direct the content that's on there. Like it's supposed to be a free sharing site. And if you're directly targeting certain groups of people and purposely spreading misinformation and disinformation just because, that, I don't know, to me that seems like it would be a violation in some area, fraud or something or other. So yeah, and as I said, I guarantee that he's not the only one.
Well, to be fair, if nobody's paying attention to it and they're just more focused and concerned on you saying the N word or saying the word baby mama, or like there's 3 keywords that I can think of off the top of my head, you put it in the title and automatically the fire spreads because you saw and read something that made you feel a certain type of way. Like you just alluded to, I must prove myself. Now I need to show up because you said something about this culture, said something about that. And the whole time, you are following a script that has been put out in particular order for specific reasons. And that's why, for me, I don't really get easily bothered by a lot of stuff because you have to have a certain level of maturity and understanding and what's happening around you in order to be able to say, all right, man, I know what this is about. You really don't care about what this is. You just want to see somebody flopping around, angry, screaming, cussing for 45 minutes to an hour because you need them to be focused on this. We bombing stuff. We throwing people out of the country. We're taking advantage of underage kids and all that. We don't need you thinking or looking at that. We own most of the water. It's not Elon, it's the other dude. Bill Gates. Bill Gates owns most of the water in the United States. That's crazy. Why why do y'all need so much control? And you basically said it, it's about keeping a certain type of order. They want to keep what they have. They don't want us to have what they got, and they don't want us to know how to get what they got. And if you do start to come into that knowledge, you're going to be looked at like you're the problem. But in reality, you've been the culprit the entire time that we've been walking this planet. All of you. That's why I don't idolize. I don't worship people. I don't just take verbatim what they say for what it is worth or none of that because I know that a lot of times your objectives and your motives are selfish and greedy. You mean to tell me that I get the benefit from sitting on TikTok, Twitter, or whichever location I'm in, and somebody says something ignorant under one of my posts or another person's post, and it's my benefit to argue with them? No, nah. You got weird handles. You don't have no profile picture, whatever, and y'all just saying stuff like real dark stuff. Oh, well, just then, father kills his wife and kid, and then some idiot gets in the comment section and says, well, she probably deserved it or something like that. You know exactly what that is. I know what it is. And that was an extreme explanation. I could give you lighter ones, and it comes down to these people ain't just doing it just to be doing it. You ever wonder why you see it every day? It don't go nowhere. That's why I even put a short up here earlier this week or so, where the guy was basically telling you, this is what I do. I want y'all to pay attention to this stuff. This is what they do. But you're not taking the time to really grasp that. Yes, there are people who don't have nothing. If I was possessed or something and I stood inside of a pentagram at 12 o'clock every weekend and I danced around and I practiced dark magic and shit like that, I would probably be doing the exact same thing that they do because I don't have a soul or I don't really care. These people are doing this. They don't care that it's causing problems. They don't care if you care that it's a situation that's important. They just want to get paid. They want their check. And they're being used just like the rest of us are being used it's just in different ways. I'm gonna come up with a phrase for that, but it's no different than you having a favorite song that you turn on for cleaning, or when you get on the road and you want to drive somewhere. They control the algorithm, but they got you thinking that you control it. And nah, I'm not surprised at all either, brother. Not for a very long time. I don't even know when I started to come to the realization that they were playing on our face, but I had to be very, very young. It was definitely before I hit my 20s. I was already just like, this don't make sense. Why do you have all of this? Why are you so abundantly protected financially and all of that? And why do these commercials and these beautiful homes look like this here, but over here is absolutely trash? Stuff didn't add up. With that, with food, with schools, all of it. I never felt in my spirit that things were on the up and up.
I was out of curiosity. I was looking up the psychology behind rage bait, and I found this really interesting article by a licensed psychologist, PhD. Um, and he was talking about how rage bait is deliberately designed to elicit anger or outrage by being frustrating, provocative, or offensive. It's become so pervasive that Oxford actually named it the word of the year in 2025. Um, but the reason why it works so well on us is it's crafted to make you engage. It's made what they say content takes many forms: outrageous food recipes, artificial intelligence generated images, conspiracy theories, or inflammatory opinions. They will use statements or quotes or whatever at the very beginning of the video, or at least like the part of the video that you see when you scroll over it, to have an emotional hook to it. That way, people are pushed to click on it because they're like so emotional. They're like, I have to act on this. They found in a study in Beihang, that a university, that when that online users share angry content more than any other feeling, um, more than sadness, disgust, or joy. They analyzed millions of social media posts, and anger consistently outperformed all other emotions in shares and comments. They've learned, the platforms themselves, the algorithm has learned that anger keeps people looking at the screen longer and spending more time on the internet with longer screen time, which to them is more ads, more ad revenue. Um, this is this is so um, this works well because it really works with slash against our psychology. Um, there's something called emotional contagion, where if a group of people are feeling a certain feeling and other people witness it, they're more likely to adopt the feeling of the group. And this goes way back to when we were tribal people and had to really kind of link up with each other and make sure that they were all kind of on the same page, especially when it came to like hunting and survival and stuff like that. it's linked to our amygdala, which is our brain's threat detection system. And it helps identify potential dangers. And our brain basically identifies rage bait as a potential threat. And we get a dopamine release when we respond to these posts, and also get feedback on our responses. It is the same neurotransmitter that's involved in our reward system, and the same thing activated by food and drugs. They've actually said that at Stanford, social media has drugified human connection. When we express outrage at the same time as others, the collective anger releases dopamine, explaining why rage farming and rage-filled comment sections feel oddly compelling despite making us angry or miserable. And so they're using our psychology to target us more efficiently. And then the algorithm is like compounding that because it prioritizes attention over well-being. It doesn't care how healthy people are, how people are feeling. It only cares about, are people clicking on it, are people reacting to it, and are people engaging with the content. Even Meta documents, their own internal documentation has shown that their algorithms explicitly reward controversial content that keep users engaged longer. Essentially, our anger is free advertising to them. And as I said, like, more engagement is more revenue for them. And so we see this on YouTube, Meta, Twitter, all Reddit, like you name it. People are using this to get people to click the links and share what's going on, or what isn't actually going on. And the difference between rage bait and clickbait is clickbait aims at people's curiosity, where rage bait specifically targets anger. Clickbait is something like, oh, you won't believe this, or here's this crazy fact you didn't know. But rage bait would be like facts that aren't true or without context, cherry-picked quotes, dark humor, hate speech type talk. It isn't factual information. It's only geared towards emotional baiting. So yeah, this is very successful, unfortunately. And it's something that is affecting most people that are using the internet, whether they know it or not. Signs that rage bait affects people include checking your phone obsessively, feeling increasingly irritable, having online arguments that end up affecting offline relationships. You might have trouble sleeping. You might have you might feel the compulsion to correct wrong information, and you fall back into endlessly scrolling through content that spikes your emotional feelings. So this is something that I think is going to become a growing problem and isn't going away anytime soon. I feel like it's going to get worse because of the companies and because of our own declining attention span and addiction to social media.
That's why it works so well. I would love to come up here and do a whole spew on how somebody gave to charity, and matter of fact, I've put a lot of different pieces up here of good Samaritans and good citizens doing great for the community. One guy who's a comedian, he just got kicked out of Walmart. They banned him because he was buying people groceries. Yes, they were mad at him for that. And
you can't spend money here to help people.
How dare you? Absolutely diabolical. You see the positive post, nobody really recognizes it. But you start calling people fat and overweight, and you say, you're just not my type. And people get bothered by that and they want to say something. It's like nobody wants to be happy no more. And if I'm a billionaire or a multimillionaire and I'm looking at y'all, I'm like, this is how I done made most of my money right here. Why would I change that up? This is perfect. You know what's funny about it? But it's not really funny. That same formula, using the psychology, that's applied in pretty much everything. Music, TV, books, science, religion. I mean, depending on who has the power to mold these different things, it's the same practice in every category that you can possibly think of. If you got a person who is spiteful, gluttonous, and just full of themselves and they only thinking about them, they will use this at every opportunity imaginable. I see it on a regular basis on posts, uploads. I mean, you see it on a small scale, a large scale. Some people, they're building their brand up off of it. Some people have already made it up here. Some people are copy pasting it. It's all the same though. It all really just depends on who's wielding that power. But rage baiting, I'm not with that. I'm not. It's it's so distasteful. And you're doing it to your own folks, the ones that's made you millions and millions of dollars. You're doing it to the very people that are responsible for your lifestyle. But see, that's how I know you don't care about the people as much as you say you do. When you're altering the genetics of food, when you're changing I can't. I was going to say phonetic. That's not the word. When you're altering the melody and tone in the music, the messages have secret codings in it. When your commercials are promoting certain things that absolutely have nothing to do with anything other than I want you to think that we're talking about this, but we're actually talking about something else because the video has certain inscriptions in it, certain decorations in it that is basically representing something else, but the commercial is talking about this. Yeah, I see you. I see exactly what you're doing. Yeah, bro, the whole Walmart thing was wild. I didn't even know who he was. But the only reason I ended up talking about it was because I thought it was just absolutely ridiculous. I wanted to know if it was a thing. Can you really ban somebody for paying for other people's groceries? I never heard of that.
You shouldn't be able to.
That's crazy. Now I know people have an issue with you recording in certain spots, like, oh, you can't record in here. That I've seen plenty of those arguments, but never, oh, they can't afford to buy this or buy that. Nah, sorry, you can't do that. Yeah, that's weird. It's weird. I think it's petty. I think it goes deeper than just the fact that he was trying to help people. Um, and I was very angry about the way they try to kick him out. They called the police on him and everything. It was, my bad. I bumped into my mic. But yeah, the rage baiting stuff, you got to recognize it when you see it. Some people will say that I'm doing it. I don't do that. But you need to listen. You need to absolutely watch to understand what I'm talking about before you go there with the clickbait stuff. I know lots of them do it, and you by the end of the video, like, all right, well, what was the message? Where was this, that, and that? When did that happen? I still ain't. I don't do that. But a lot of your favorites do it, and they're getting paid very well to do it.
I think another aspect to this is it's as it gets pushed more and more by the companies, by big creators, and by the general population. It's going to get harder for creators that don't rage bait to not do it, because to stand out against the algorithm, you obviously have to garner as many views as possible. And if people are beating you because you don't post that rage bait content, a lot of people will start to bow to that type of behavior because it's the only thing that's able to make them stand out. And one of the aspects to rage bait and why it's kind of like progressing in the way that it is just like with food, just like with activities, we get and drugs as well. The more you engage with it, the more you expose yourself to it, the more desensitized you get towards it. And so it takes more and more dramatic content to give you a rush, basically. And so people, I mean, honestly, this is actually how the spiral into conspiracy theories and the the deep dark Reddit style people, it's easy to snowball into it because it's literally triggering the same reward system as a drug. And we're already addicted to social media, so it makes sense that we would also transition to be addicted to like sensationalized stories. I mean, I've even noticed that with myself, where I've gotten to the point where sometimes I'll hear stories and I'm like, yeah, that's not interesting, even if it's like something that would have in the past been something that would have stuck with me. We are having to compete for a increasingly limited amount of time because of how much is available on the internet, how many influencers are out there. Like, this is not 2016 when there were some big YouTube names and the rest of people were just kind of like doing it for fun. Now it's like a competition, really, of who can make the most money. And also, as more people become influencers, there's less money to go around. People are starting to see that they're not getting paid as much anymore, because now there's so many people doing it that these companies can't afford to pay everyone all this money. And again, that loops around to, as people struggle to get views and to make a living off of their social media presence, they're going to start relying on rage bait. And as you kind of said, some people say that you rage bait. It unfortunately, when people are posting news and videos, you kind of have to use a little bit of rage bait to hook people sometimes, either clickbait or rage bait, because as I said, you need to get somebody's attention. You need to get somebody to look at your video. And if you're surrounded by rage bait, everyone else is just going to use it too. So I think it's sad because I've seen Like, I've been watching YouTube since it came out in 2004, and I've watched the transition of YouTube as just a video sharing site where people would put their grainy, crappy videos up, and like people would make like PowerPoint presentations and all like the, pet project, fun things like people falling off their bikes or car crashes. Like, it was just like videos. But I would say after 2016, that's when it really transitioned to like curated content, people actually creating shows and very like performative type videos, and it wasn't just organic stuff that people filmed. Of course that stuff still exists, but I can tell you, even within the last 5-7 years, it has gotten so difficult to find an original video. Most videos nowadays are people commenting on those other videos, or they're compilations of videos. There isn't, it's very hard to find like, oh yeah, this is the original post. And also the access to news sources is rapidly declining because a lot of them are also falling into the same practices, or are the opposite end of the spectrum where they're trying to be so neutral that they don't give anything of value. They just kind of recant the story that everyone knows. But our access to them is starting to diminish because now all of them have paywalls. And so most people end up getting their information from YouTube, from Facebook, from Twitter, from TikTok, which allows for rage bait to fester in that as well. Because if you don't have news media sites, the neutral ones, the more toned down ones that have it's more informational rather than emotional, you are going to kind of start relying on these other sources and have nothing to compare it to. Part of the aspect of research is you look at many different sources and compare the information to see which information is true and which information is speculative or false. And because we don't have access to all of these news sources, and we're relying just on like hearsay and people's opinions and stuff like that, it's hard for people to make actual educated decisions about what they're seeing. And so I think that's another aspect to the rage bait, because if people don't know how to assess the truth behind the rage bait, they're more likely to spread it as well. Because if you find something that catches your attention and it grabs you emotionally, you're more likely to automatically just repost it. You're like, oh my gosh, that's crazy, repost. Send it to a bunch of friends. Send it to your family. And it doesn't allow you to, or it makes people less likely to actually investigate it first. That's also why we're seeing such a proliferation of AI content and like the fake news stories and stuff like that, because people aren't thinking about the stuff that they're reposting. It's so easy just to click the button and suddenly it's out there. And it allows poor information, fake information to spread rapidly, because instead of somebody having to like write up a whole blog and then edit it and then put it up on the internet and then they have like guidelines from the companies, it's social media. As long as you're not swearing or telling somebody that you want them to die, like they usually don't have an issue with all of the false information that exists. Luckily, there are some sites that flag information that may be false. They do that on Blue Sky, where it says like, oh, this has the potential of being incorrect or inaccurate. And it'll tell you not like it's iffy if you should trust it or not. But a lot of places won't do that. And now that we know that these companies are also paying people for this form of content, it makes you wonder, like the news that is going up on their site and stuff, are they responsible for the misinformation, the disinformation that's put out there? Like, are they directly responsible for it, where they allow it to be up there? Because they're supposed to be the ones that moderate that content, that make sure that stuff doesn't get out, and that they're promoting news that's accurate. But if they're paying people for rage bait, chances are they're probably not trying to curb the use of rage bait, clickbait, false information, AI generated content for information, because they don't care. They want our clicks, they want our reposts, they want us to share, they want us to talk about it, because they make money from every single time that we post about something that was from their site. So it's something that unfortunately is like a multi-pronged issue, where it's the company's fault, but it's also our fault in a sense, because we also perpetrate it. We're the ones that are resharing these things. We're the ones that are falling into that trap and engaging with that content, and something will catch our attention and we'll start an argument in the chat. And that allows that to continue. So one of the things that we have to do is stop engaging with that type of content. If it seems like it's fishing for attention, don't go there. Don't go to the site. Don't click on it. Stop giving your attention to those places. It's also really important to vet the information that you're reading. That way you're not spreading false information or things that are like wildly exaggerated. You also want to make sure that you verify the source of wherever that information is coming from, because I mean, I've even fallen for it myself. I have an extensive background in science, but there was a YouTuber that I was watching for a while that talked about volcanoes, and probably a month into me watching her pretty regularly, I found out that she was not a scientist. She did not have a degree. She didn't even live in Iceland, where she was supposedly reporting on the volcano. And it, like, people are taking information from commenters on YouTube that have no experience whatsoever and are taking it at face value and like, oh, well, I heard this person say that, so it must be true. And that's not how it works. Just because one person said something doesn't mean it's true. Even if 100 people says one thing, it doesn't make it true. And it really blurs the line between truth and falsity when you can't even differentiate between the two. And you're getting bombarded by so many stories that are fake, but very little that showcase the truth. And I think, unfortunately, I think this is very deeply connected to the political situation right now, because if we're angrily typing out stuff online, if we're constantly getting in arguments in the comments, in the chat, we're not on the streets. We're not boycotting these companies. We're not angrily going to the Capitol and demanding them to actually do what they're supposed to do. It keeps us out of their faces. They want us online because it makes us easier to control. It makes it easier for them to spread the information that they want out there. And it also makes it easier for them to get money. So it's a multi-pronged approach to make us as distracted and unhelpful to the world as possible. Because if we're disengaged from the world, we aren't going to be fighting back. If they can take our jobs, they can take our sources of money, they can take the places that we live, they can take our food, they can take our power, electricity power, because we're not paying attention. And I think the rage bait is doing that. It's distracting us on such a wide, such a intense, deep way that we're no longer engaged in the politics that protect us. If this was the 60s, 70s, 80s, all of us would be on the street. All of us would be protesting, angrily marching, demanding that these politicians do something. But instead, people are just online reposting links saying, oh yeah, sign this petition to show your support, or like share this article and get the information out there. And okay, go downstairs. My goodness, they're running right outside my office. If we are constantly engaged online and not on the street, they're going to be controlling us because they now get to control our time and the narrative. So it's really, really important for people to recognize that reposting something, putting up a post, putting up a quote, reposting an article, that doesn't do anything. It makes us feel like we're doing something. It makes us feel like, oh yeah, I'm raising awareness, I'm getting the information out there and blah, blah, blah. But the information is out there. What we need to do is actually mobilize in person, because that is the stuff that creates change. Signing petitions, it shows that you're interested, but it doesn't do anything. A lot of politicians don't give about petitions. They care about the money, and we've seen they can be paid for their vote, for their power. Like they are bought and sold, and they don't care about the correct information getting out there. And so they're perfectly happy with us sitting behind our computers, being blind and oblivious to all of the stuff that they're doing behind the scenes. So this is definitely something that, as a whole, people really have to start reining in their use of social media, because it's a distraction, and it's taking away our power as a people, as a democracy. So clickbait, rage bait makes so much sense when you think about the people that are sponsoring that type of content.
Couldn't say it any better. Shout outs. Think about it. Move forward when you get on this, whatever app it is that you use, and then you decide that you want to start to have a discord with somebody about something. Be very mindful of who you're entertaining and if it's worth it. Pay a little more attention to some of the stuff that you are actually consuming, commercials, etc., etc. Use your discernment. That's all I gotta say. I think you pretty much covered everything that I wanted to. A matter of fact, the whole point of this video to me was just stop letting everybody get under your skin, because it's always deeper than what we think it is. I'm gonna let you close us out. Shout outs to Levy and everybody who watched. Check this back on the replay. I think I might get something out of this, especially if you easily get bothered by the stuff that you watch up here. Yeah. But I'm gonna hand it over. We're gonna close out from here. I'll give you the solo. Enjoy your weekends and all that. I will see some of you guys tomorrow. You got the floor.
All right. So I thought this poem fit very well with the topic of this video. This one is called, of course I scrolled past it. There you are. It's called Audible Walls. And I wrote this basically about the internet and how they use it to kind of spread fear and falsities to kind of control us. Fear fabricates flamboyant, mutated mirages, massacres masked by manipulated mathematics, manifested by the malfeasant marauders. damning us to disproportionate dexterity, magnified morality, fragility, mortality, witnessing victims and dismissed fatality, recorded crimes, yet forced redirection, real-time revelations with not one intervention. In each malignant, militant principality, cities fester in chronic dismality, crowbar the union with dangerous duality, relying on ignorance and unkempt neutrality. Agape masses gasconade and deflate. In realization, they've been denied an escape. Suppress exceptions, dismantle pride, the reporters, the spreaders, the compliant, the fried. Stand to gripe, to point fingers, to grouse, smothering logic with their beautiful mouths. In words stead, seekers of eyes will bleed out. In words stead, bleepers of lies flee the doubt. In words stead, the keepers of lives sealed out. In words stead, we are consumed by the shouts. Nary the ear, nary the mind. Bodies preached wrongdoings from cloudy heads to headlines. Digital districts feed famished faces, smearing and stoking, selling, revoking. Loud, unaffected onlookers sitting with screens and systems, making boredom their weapon. Self-seeking and selling verses, virtual reality stealing with curses. Words are posted for nothing, but words cannot be for nothing. There is nothing heroic about energetic voices when devolving to odious odes. Those in power have had their run, for tech has tied us to the bum. We donate talent, rage, and cower, giving up our precious power, protecting guns, but not our thoughts, restricted, poisoned, dazed, and confined by a life sentence that you bought online, using the change you popped into your pockets that you thought was for a better future.
I lost 2 majors in the same month, cutting corners.